In this lesson, we're going to solve a quadratic equation by using the quadratic formula. There are four different methods for solving quadratic equations. You can use graphing, factoring. Factoring is best when the discriminant is a perfect square or zero, and your coefficients a, b, and c are all integers. So if you have that situation, factoring would be a good method to use. Completing the square is another method, and we have that in a previous video. In this video, we're going to use the quadratic formula. Completing the square and quadratic formula can be used on any quadratic equation. The quadratic formula is less prone to arithmetic errors than completing the square. So this would be the one to go to if you're not sure what to do. Let's remember what the quadratic formula looks like. And let's label the parts of the quadratic so we'll know where our letters line up to the coefficients. So knowing that, let's fill in what we know and solve. So once we've written down the formula and we've plugged in the values, now we can simplify. That's 4, not 41. So far we have -5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 32 over 4. So let's continue to simplify. -5 plus or minus the square root of -7 over 4. And if you remember, we cannot use take the square root of a negative number, so we're going to have to convert the square root of -7 into the square root of -1 times square root of 7. And if you remember from a previous lesson, square root of -1 is called I. So the answer to the square root of -7 is I square root of 7. So we can replace that. So -5 plus or minus I square root of 7 over 4. So what does this mean? That means that our discriminant is less than 0. So we have no real roots, we have imaginary roots, and therefore we have the I as part of the answer. So your answer is -5 plus or minus the square root, or I, the square root of 7 over 4. All of these are listed on page 217 in your textbook as well.